Look, I'm involved in things. Dangerous things.
Oh, I'm sure you are. So?
From first jumping off of a train in 1997, the main protagonist of Final Fantasy VII Cloud Strife is an iconic character that throughout the years has held a place of deep importance for many fans all over the world. So in this video, I'll be exploring details on what makes him stand out from all the other video game characters out there. This is 30 facts about Cloud Strife. He was born in Nibelheim on August 11th, 1986, making Cloud 21 years old at the start of Final Fantasy VII. As for his other features, his height is listed at 173 centimeters, aka 5'8" with a lean build. His blood type is AB, he is right-handed, and sports spiky blonde hair with blue eyes that, due to the Mako flowing through his body, will emit a light green glow. For a while, the real date of Cloud's birthday was in a state of confusion. This is because both of the North American and European instruction manuals has his birthday listed as August 19th. However, on the official Square Enix Advent Children website, it was instead shown as August 11th. To make it even more confusing, his zodiac sign in Final Fantasy Tactics was shown as an Aquarius instead of a Leo, which would indicate his birthday could range anywhere between January 20th to February 18th. After many years, this was eventually sorted out by both the Final Fantasy Ultimania and also by Tetsuya Nomura himself when he posted a happy birthday message for Cloud on August 11th. The origins of Cloud and Sephiroth's relationship was based on two famous samurai from 17th century Japan. Miyamoto Musashi was the inspiration for Cloud, and his rival Sasaki Kojiro was used for Sephiroth's template. In their epic showdown, Musashi defeated Kojiro by using an oversized wooden sword made from his boat oar, which of course resembles Cloud's Buster Sword versus Sephiroth's Masamune. Although Cloud isn't known for having a ton of hobbies, he does enjoy a few, such as riding motorcycles, snowboarding, and riding chocobos. You can actually catch Cloud doing all three of these activities in the original 1997 game. On the other hand, he doesn't seem to be too keen on dancing and cross-dressing. During the initial design phase, Cloud was originally meant to have slicked back, dark hair to contrast with Sephiroth's long flowing silver hair. The developers then decided on changing it to blonde and spiky in order to make Cloud look more heroic, light, relatable, and less overly masculine. These design ideas, however, would not be wasted, and would be first carried over into Zack Fair in the original game, and then also over to Angel Hewley in Crisis Core. At one point in time, Cloud was actually supposed to be the PlayStation guest character representative for Soul Calibur 2. However, this deal was scrapped at the very last minute, so the plan quickly shifted to Hayachi from the Tekken series receiving the spot. His iconic hairstyle has evolved to a degree over the years. In Cloud's earlier appearances, his trademark hair had one large spike above the rest emerging into the air, whereas in his later appearances, it was then changed to have more of Cloud's hairdo being spiked up, and the overall length was made to be slightly shorter all around.
You know, they are kind of similar. Totally.
The three developers who were the most important to the creation of Cloud Strife was Tetsuya Nomura, a character artist for the Final Fantasy series, whose role expanded during the title's development to include supervision over Cloud's personality, Yoshinori Kitase, the director of Final Fantasy VII, and Kazushige Nojima, one of the game's event planners. The main idea developed into the story was to create a mysterious character who acted, especially in the beginning, unlike a typical hero. Even though Cloud at the start of Final Fantasy VII is portrayed as a cold-hearted individual that only cares about himself, it is simply just an act. The reality is that Cloud's character is that of a person who cares deeply but failed to reach his goals and has much self-doubt. Because of this, Cloud is viewed as a very relatable and human character by many fans. Cloud's legendary Buster Sword is one of the most iconic weapons in video game history. However, early on in development, it looked very different from what we see now. The sword was originally much smaller and thinner in design. However, Tetsuya Nomura had the vision of the sword being massive, unrefined steel, and referred to it by calling it a giant kitchen knife. Funny enough, even though players of FF7 are quick to replace the sword once Cloud finds a more powerful one, the events of Crisis Core do highlight how significant and important the Buster Sword truly is. As a side note, due to its impractical size, you will find many videos of cosplayers struggling to wield it even when it's made out of very light materials. On top of that, when a real-life version of the sword was made by the YouTube show Man at Arms, it was shown that swinging the sword as one person to be incredibly difficult and generally requires two people. Luckily for Cloud, he has a required superhuman strength capable to wield it. Now, when it comes to his fusion sword from Advent Children, it was evolved from the criticism people had over the sheer size of Cloud's Buster Sword in the original game. Nomura, in response, then initially decided to troll by having Cloud carry 6 smaller swords on his back to go for quantity over size. Oddly enough, this concept then grew during development into the idea of these swords combining into a single weapon. After his time riding the hardy Daytona, Cloud developed an appreciation and bond for riding motorcycles. This then led to him obtaining his very own motorcycle named the Fenrir, in which Cloud can be seen riding on during the events of Advent Children for both his delivery business and when he's seeking solitude. As for how he obtained it, Cloud got the Fenrir motorcycle after making a deal with a patron of Tifa's 7th Heaven. The terms of the deal were simply Cloud and Tifa would agree to let the patron receive free food and drink for life in exchange for the bike. Not that it's a huge surprise to anyone, but he was in fact the very first character designed for the original 1997 game. After Cloud was made, the staff then moved on to creating Aerith as his love interest, and then Barrett to be one of his most trusted allies. He definitely holds a title as Mr. Popular. Over the years, there have been many articles and fan polls that have more than confirmed just how much of a fan favorite he is, since he is constantly viewed and ranked as either the most famous Final Fantasy character of all time, or is in a very close race for the top spot. Along with that, Cloud is also regarded as one of the most iconic and recognizable video game characters in general, right up there with the likes of Mario, Sonic, Mega Man, and various others. Growing up, Cloud didn't exactly have the easiest childhood. While Cloud and Tifa did know each other as kids, they weren't exactly close, and he never really got along with the other kids in Nibelheim. Since his father died when Cloud was very young, his strongest relationship was with his mother, Cloud Strife, which is emphasized during the calm flashback sequence. Another proof of their bond is that if you dig even deeper, you can find unused dialogue files inside Final Fantasy VII that will reveal that there was an item called a homemade potion that Cloud's mom was supposed to give to him. While we may never know exactly what item properties this potion would have had, we do know for sure that Cloud absolutely got his good looks from his mother. It is possible to acquire Cloud Strife as an optional party member in Final Fantasy Tactics. He is summoned to the world of Ivalice through an ancient machine that the protagonist can activate later on in the game. It has been implied that this takes place during a sequence in Final Fantasy Tactics where Cloud falls into the livestream in Midil. Although he requires some work to get there, Cloud can actually become a powerful character in Final Fantasy Tactics, as long as you find the secret Materia Blade in order to make use of all of his abilities. The other main reason you'd want to use Cloud is the fact that he's the only male character in the game that can equip the ribbon accessory, which provides total protection against status effects. This is of course a nice Easter egg that refers to the fact that he did some cross-dressing in Final Fantasy VII. He has his own fragrance. When celebrities reach a certain level of fame, it's not uncommon for them to release their own signature scent. Square Enix obviously felt that Cloud had reached this level and decided it was time for him to get in on the act. Cloud Strife was sold at the 2009 Tokyo Game Show and was re-released several years later. It did cost the equivalent of $78 USD per bottle, but like most Final Fantasy merchandise, was never made available in the West. This decision by Square Enix did help inspire numerous other video game-based fragrances from other series. It was revealed that he was not the original protagonist idea for Final Fantasy VII. When Hironobu Sakaguchi first came up with the idea of who the protagonist would be, he originally wanted the game to star a detective named Joe. This character was set to investigate the trail of the group that destroyed the city of Midgar, but the development of this version of the game was put on hold so Squaresoft could concentrate more and finish work on Chrono Trigger. Though this idea of a detective was not entirely discarded, as a detective has starred in one of the novels. In the Final Fantasy VII The Kids Are Alright, a Turk side story novel, it features a character named Evan Townshend, who houses a detective agency office in Midgar. He then gets caught up in Kadaj's scheme, which leads up to the events of Advent Children. During the production of Advent Children in 2005, it has been stated that the animators of the film created over 120 designs for Cloud's face to get it just right. A very similar issue also happened when it came time to create Cloud for Dissidia, due to his hair and eyes being very difficult to get right. This was mostly due to his design in the original FF7, where his eyes were very large, which doesn't carry over well to the more slightly realistic designs of Advent Children and Dissidia. While there have been many third-party characters that have been added to the roster of the Super Smash Bros. Games over the years, the addition of Cloud Strife as a paid DLC was a very unexpected one, and also a first of its kind. This is because while characters like Sonic, Mega Man, Snake, and others are third-party characters, they all have had their own games appear on the Nintendo console in one way or another over the years. However, Final Fantasy VII never appeared on Nintendo console until after Cloud made his grand entrance into the Smash series. Strangely, Cloud is the only character in Final Fantasy VII that has two separate battle models. Besides his regular one, there is a more detailed version that is used in the scripted battle versus Sephiroth. Why this model is only used here and in nowhere else in the game was never revealed. On a side note, regardless of whatever actions you take, it's actually impossible to lose this fight versus Sephiroth. While his appearance in the Super Smash Bros. Series was a big deal, it is actually not the first VS fighter that Cloud has appeared in. He was actually included in the roster for the 1998 arena fighter Urgai's God Bless the Ring. The name Cloud Strife is perfectly set up as an allegory for his damaged mind. For the first name, it is to highlight his clouded past and mysterious nature. As for his last name Strife, it is to show the uncertainty and struggle going on within Cloud. As for why his psyche is in this damaged state, it can be attributed to the trauma Sephiroth caused Cloud as well as by the experiments performed on him by Shin-Ra. Is it a dream or is it a nightmare? One of the key plots in Final Fantasy VII is Cloud's involvement as one part of one of the most popular love triangles in all of media, involving himself, Aerith, and Tifa. This love triangle is easily one of the most debated topics in Final Fantasy VII, and has two huge fanbases who battle on which woman is truly best for Cloud Strife. He does not have a tattoo. After the Nibelheim incident, both Cloud and Zack were taken by Shin-Ra so Hojo could conduct experiments on them. After being injected with Jenova cells and falling into Mako sickness, Hojo designated Cloud as a failed experiment. Because of this, Cloud was never branded like the other test subjects were. His voice hasn't always been the same. The original release of Final Fantasy VII didn't contain any voice acting. However, since then, Cloud has had a voice on numerous occasions. Aside from in Urgai's, where his voice was provided by Nozomu Suzaki and Kenjiro Horyuchi, it has been otherwise Takahiro Sakurai that has provided the voice for Cloud in every other Japanese release to date. As for Cloud's English voice, the role of Cloud was first given to actor Steve Burton, who was featured in Advent Children, the Kingdom Hearts games, and many other Final Fantasy spin-off titles. Despite Burton having held the role for 16 years though, he was replaced with Cody Christensen for Final Fantasy VII Remake. Cloud actually wasn't the only one to be recasted either, with all of the game's key characters receiving new voice actors. Just what is holding up that sword? One of the most common questions out there since the release of the original game is how Cloud kept the massive Buster Sword on his back as he moved around. Thankfully, concept art for the original release of Final Fantasy VII provides an answer. It shows that there was a small magnet attached to the back of Cloud's suspenders, and explains this is what's used to hold the sword in place. This does seem to be something that's part of the soldier uniform, as both Zack and Angeal have also shown to have a similar magnet on their back. Mr. Strife went from being a complete loner to the center of everyone's world. During the events of FF7, Cloud, without any effort on his part, receives constant attention from a lot of the ladies and even some of the men. A great example of this is when the party visits the Golden Saucer for the Keystone, and depending on the player's previous actions, Cloud now has the option of a romantic date with either Aerith, Tifa, Yuffie, or even Barret. His importance to everyone is even further shown in Advent Children, where aside from his close friends, a lot of the children, including Denzel and Marlene, have a lot of respect and admiration for Cloud. Due to how much of a recognizable fan favorite he is, Cloud has the most player-controlled appearances of any character in the Final Fantasy series, and has the second most appearances altogether, only trailing behind Gilgamesh. Safe to say this number of appearances will only increase as time goes on. Although initially Cloud is portrayed as a perfect soldier, it is later revealed when he returns to his true self that he is susceptible to motion sickness, which is a trait he actually shares with Yuffie Kasaragi. And that fact marks the end of this video. There is still so much to cover when it comes to the amazing Cloud Strife, and we're only just getting started, but that's for another time. One thing for sure is I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where his journey takes him in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and beyond. Be sure to let me know down in the comments if I missed any facts, or if you learned something you found really interesting. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
7 seconds till the end. Time enough for you, perhaps. But what will you do with it? Let's see.